Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is the continuation of the previous discourse regarding the death penalty in Islam. Some of my friends have raised some questions and issues. I would like to answer those questions in this episode. First question was why adultery should not be a criminal offense in Islam, right to privacy. Let me say that the Quranic requirements against frivolous charges for zina aims to stop people from interfering with other people's privacy. It makes clear that the proper way of dealing with such blundering mistakes, actions is that they should remain private and be overlooked. Starting a scandal is inappropriate. Quran says, those who allow that gross indecency should spread among the believers shall be visited with grievous suffering, both in this world and hereafter. An-Nur, ayat 19. Those who commit adultery in a private are guilty of a gross misconduct, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will undoubtedly hold them to account for it, but the law has no claim against them. There are authenticated ahadith Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam that demonstrate a notion of the right to privacy in 7th century of Arabia, which includes, number one, whoever conceals the faults of fellow Muslim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will conceal his or her faults here in this world and hereafter. This is a muttafaqun alayh hadith. Number two, Prophet has said, do not harm fellow human beings and do not shame them. Do not investigate their private imperfections. Whoever investigates the private imperfections of his or her fellow brother or a sister, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pursue his private imperfections until he disgraces him in his own house, means the day after, hereafter. This is reported by At-Tabrani on the authority of Abu Darda radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. This reveals that the 7th century of Islam aimed to seek protect people's privacy and prevent the spread of gross indecency, and demonstrates the length to which Islam goes in order to ensure that people refrain from accusing others of adultery, as there is no way to implement zina without undermining people's right to privacy and spreading gross indecency. Question number two, which my friends have raised, is zina, adultery, still necessary for the contemporary society? It is answer, if I will say in brief, no. However, although the adultery is viewed as a moral wish in Islam, moral wishes are not crimes under Sharia law. They are only considered crimes if they directly violate or result in a violation of any of the five indispensables, five purposes which we have discussed in the first episode of this discussion. One of them is hifz nasl, protect the lineage, offspring. What this means that a Sharia court has no jurisdiction over moral wishes. If they do not constitute a fahisha, they cannot make a tashhir, a public display of these nonsense things. Islam considered adultery a risk to the protection of an individual's nasb, lineage or offspring, which was considered a 7th century Arabian human rights law, and one of the five indispensables. Hence, adultery was codified as a crime. There are brothers who have made a very sincere arguments and can be made on behalf them to whether such laws are still relevant in contemporary society where the protection of lineage, offspring, hasab can be guaranteed through scientific means and not evidenced through marriage. Therefore, is Sharia law regarding zina, adultery, still necessary for a modern society? This is a very crucial question, but its answer is no. This is really a controversial question, and no doubt Muslim jurists, fuqaha, scholars will not feel, maybe they will feel uncomfortable to deal this idea of racism the hudud laws when the Quran describes them. They are hududullah, God's bounds, God's limits. However, the task of Muslim jurists has always been to identify the cause or a reason behind laws in order to determine if the laws are universally applicable to all or particular to their original context. If Islam will allow it, then it may destroy the whole society, whole notion of Islamic concept. I can quote here the Maulana Maududi rahimahullah ta'ala. He has written, the universal unanimity of view in this respect is due to the fact that man by nature abhors zina. In fact, the future of human race and civilization depends on this, that the relationship between the husband and wife should be built upon the basis of enduring an everlasting bond of fidelity, which should not only be fully recognized in the social life, but should also be guaranteed by the existing social structure. Without this, the human race cannot survive. This is because the human child requires years of care and training for survival and development, and a woman alone cannot bear this the burden without cooperation of man, who became the cause of the birth of their child. Similarly, human civilization itself is a product of cooperate life of man and a woman. Their setting up a home, bringing up a family, and establishing a mutual relationships and their connections between families. If men and women were to lose sight of this essential fact, that is the establishment of home and raising a family, and were to meet freely just for the pleasure and lust, the entire structure of human society would crumble. In fact, the very foundations on which the structure of human civilization and culture has been built will topple down, and the whole basis of the concept of social life will disappear. I will conclude it here. My point is that if they will allow to do it, then there will be no concept of the ummah. Ummah will be crumble and will be shaken. So Islam wants to protect its religion, its deen, and the family system. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to understand our deen, our religion. Jazakumullahu khair.